This is Garden Jen. Welcome to my journey. Let's see what's in store today. Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today is a rainy day here at the farm. Got quite a bit going on inside since we can't do much outside. And I just decided I was going to make a nice little treat for the family today. It's something a little sweet, something a little different. And it makes use of the farm fresh eggs that I have here at the house. It's called chocolate chip cloud cookies. And the recipe is from 12 Tomatoes. I will post a link below so you guys can look at the recipe. But if you know anything about meringue and how meringue works, that's basically what these cookies are. They're a gluten-free recipe because they just use egg whites. They don't use flour or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how easy these are to make. So the recipe calls for 4 large egg whites. And today I'm going to use something different. I'm going to use my duck eggs. 1 duck egg is almost equivalent to 2 large eggs, but I'm going to go ahead and be on the safe side. I'm actually going to use 3 duck eggs just to make sure that I have enough going on. And since these are farm fresh and I do have males in with my my ducks, I always check my eggs before I put them in my batch, just in case they have blood spots on them, because though they're not really detrimental to your health, they're just not appealing to use in a recipe. So I always check my eggs first before adding them to a batch. And then I'm just separating them, the yolks and the whites here, the yolks and the whites, because we're only going to use the whites. The yolks I will give to my dogs, and they will enjoy those. It helps with their coats and things like that. So again, I'm just separating the yolks from the whites. They do have little tools that make this a little bit easier, but this works just fine. And then the shells I actually recycle as well. They'll get dried out and crushed and get used in my garden, and then I also give them back to the poultry so they get the calcium back to make strong shells. Alright, so that's 3 duck eggs in the bowl. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream and tartar. Now, cream and tartar is to help stabilize the egg whites so they don't get overbeat. I mean, you can still overbeat them, but this helps prevent a catastrophe. So just 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. Now we're going to go ahead and put this in the mixer, and I have a whisk attachment, and I find that whisking these on high works the best. So here we go. Alright, so we're going to whisk the egg whites until they have a very soft peak, but it still holds somewhat of a form, and then we'll add the sugar, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get there. Okay, we're at the soft peak stage, and I'll show you what that looks like. When I lift up the beater, I don't think you can see that, but it forms soft peaks that fold over when the beater's lifted. So that's the soft peak stage. And what we're going to do is we're going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to use a mix of brown sugar and white sugar. The brown sugar is what, both those mixes are what's used in chocolate chip cookies. So to give these a more chocolate chip cookie kind of feel, that's what I'm doing with these. Okay, I've added my sugar, and we're going to put this mix back in there and turn it back on and go to the hard peak stage, which means when you pick up the whisk, the peaks will actually stand up and they won't fold over, and that's what we're looking for the meringue. Okay, we are at the hard peak stage, and you can clearly see how that mountain there in the meringue is standing up tall, and the stuff hanging off is not dripping at all. That is the hard peak stage, and that's what we want. Now we're going to add in our vanilla. And then we're going to add in our chocolate chips, and we're just going to gently mix this in until it's incorporated, and we're going to start putting it out on our sheets. Alright, so I added a teaspoon of vanilla, and then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And then, like I said, we're gently going to mix this in, but I'm also going to throw in the chocolate chips. Okay, the recipe calls for 1 cup of miniature chocolate chips. We have about a half a cup. That's what we have left from doing the last batch, so we're just going to use what we have. And then, like I said, we're just gently going to mix this in because it's already whipped up to the consistency we need. Alright, that looks really good. And like I said, you can see that the peak stands up straight there. And then we're going to start putting these on a cookie sheet. And I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so now that our batch is all mixed up, and that's what it looks like, we're going to go ahead and start putting it on cookie sheets that are lined with parchment paper. A trick that I found for parchment paper, because it tends to roll up and not stick with the trays, is I just spray the bottom of the tray with some oil, and then put it on there, and it holds the parchment paper down. So we're going to take a tablespoon and just make some heaping mounds here. They don't have to be spaced extremely apart because they're not going to rise too much. They're going to stay about the shape that they are in. So just make some nice sized little dollops on your sheet. And these are going to go into a preheated oven about 300 degrees. And they're going to cook for about 35 to 40 minutes, or until when you touch them, they're quite dry. That's what you're looking for with these, is very dry cookies. And then you'll let them, when they come out of the oven, you're going to let them sit for about 5 minutes or so on the sheet so they can firm up a bit. And then you're going to take them off the sheet and put them on a cooling rack to let them completely cool down and dry. Alright, so there's sheet number 1. And depending on how big you make these and how many eggs you use and all that good stuff, you should get about 2 dozen cookies out of this recipe. And you definitely do not want to eat this batter raw, as it is completely eggs. And though I know where these eggs came from and they're fresh, I still wouldn't be able to tell if my birds have salmonella or anything that you can catch from eating raw egg products. So definitely do not eat this batter raw, even though it looks appetizing. Alright, there we go. And I got just under 2 dozen with this. Alright, so I'm going to pop these in the oven, again at 300 degrees, for about 35 to 40 minutes, or until when I touch them, they're dry. And I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. See you soon. Alright, so we're going to check on our meringue cookies. And those are looking good. We'll pull a rack out here. And when I touch the top, they're dry, and that's what you want. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out. Alright, now we're going to let these sit for another 5 minutes and let them cool down a little bit more so they firm up and they're not going to fall apart. And then we're going to put them on cooling racks. So we'll be back as soon as that process is ready to go. Alright, so our cookies have cooled. It took a little less than 5 minutes to get to where they're firm enough to move without tearing them to pieces. So we're just going to take them off the parchment paper and put them on this cooling rack. Don't mind the flies that are flying around. Like I said, we live on a farm. That's part and parcel to living on a farm, especially when it's cold outside and it's warm inside. Humans aren't the only ones who like a warm environment. So, yeah. Now I forgot to turn off my timer. That's kind of funny. All right. See how easy they come off since they've sat for a few? It's true with just about any cookie. You know, you want to get them off the pan right away because you want them to cool down. They need just that small bit of time to firm up a bit before they get moved. Otherwise, you're just going to tear them apart. Alright. So there we go. Chocolate chip cloud cookies. Delicious. Now, what you do with these is once they're completely cool, if you don't eat them all first, is you store them away in an airtight container, and they'll last up to a week stored that way. But I'm pretty sure you're going to eat them all up before that. So thanks for watching my video. Please make sure to give a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with your friends. Hit the subscribe button so you can stay in tune with what's going on here at the farm. And as always, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you were blessed by this. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.